Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and before we get into the build, I just want to let you guys know this motorcycle could be yours for free. Just head on over to jnpcycles.com/win and enter. There's no purchase necessary. We had a 2020 Street Bob show up at the shop here. No possible way you're going to show up with a stock bike at a J&P Cycle shop and not have us make it rad. My favorite thing to do to a motorcycle other than to modify it is to ride it, and I don't want to ride a stock one. With new bikes, they lend themselves to a certain style, and you have some choices to make. You can either take that bike and go like the anti version of that, and that's always cool, or you can kind of lean into it a little bit. And with the Street Bob, it has kind of like I hate the term old school, but it has kind of like an old school vintage feel to it. So we are gonna lean into kind of their original idea of old school kind of feel, but at the same time, this bike's built to put down miles. You're walking that line of making something cool and functional when you want a bike that's gonna put down miles. We went with Legends air suspension, and man, that's a slick kit. It's a slick install, and it works really well. So now we have some adjustability. If we have somebody on the back, or have luggage on the back, need some ground clearance, or we wanna go low and slow, we can adjust that ride height with that air suspension. It's so important when setting the stance of the bike, the way you want the bike to look when it's going down the road. I didn't want to go T-bars on this. That's just too easy to do, kind of too on the nose. So we threw some LA choppers, kind of narrower bars on there. The biggest pain in the ass, man, it's always going to be handlebars, but it always is worth the effort too, because then you get that customized feel to your motorcycle and the look that you want. In this particular case, we ended up not having to change any lines or extend anything, so that was really nice, but you still have to do the same amount of work to get them done.
A lot smaller than it was, huh?
And then, man, stock lighting is heinous. It has the normal lame stuff, man. It has like lame lighting and, you know, just factory lameness. I put some really cool Custom Dynamics LED kind of wraparound lights on it that go over the top of the fork tube. The bummer about that is if you're installing those, it's kind of a bigger lift on the install than your normal lighting change, because you have to take the front fork tubes loose to put those on. But once they're on there, they slide right over the top and they kind of fade away until you hit the button, and then those LEDs light up. So really stoked on how that kind of cleaned the front up and got rid of the lights without getting rid of them. Performance-wise, these Milwaukee engines are pretty strong out of the box, and they respond really, really well to modification. And when you go for American-made performance, you know, I mean, S&S is a great company as far as performance, but they also have that classic kind of Harley Davidson performance to me. So we went with that classic teardrop. The mini version, kept it black, because there's so much black on this bike. And then honestly, I like the header setup on this. I didn't really want to go 2-into-1 again. That kind of leans itself to kind of like the Dynabro T-bar setup. You know, 2-into-1s are probably my favorite style of exhaust. With this, I left those stock headers and we put S&S Grand National slip-ons on it, and I think it really worked. We kind of kept the look of the bike the way we wanted, and it just happens to be this is also a 50 state legal bike. We don't always get that, but with S&S, they're really good about compliance. I think really worked well to give us a little bit extra punch. I love taking lighting and making it smaller. Since the turn signals are also the tail light, I have a little bit of apprehension about making those smaller. So we used the stock turn signal housings, but we replaced those with some Custom Dynamics LED units, and they're super bright. So I really like the way that turned out. I mean, incandescent lighting is not great, and anytime I can like throw an LED in there and keep a look, it's a great way to go. We just got the paint back, and again, Scott Takis, Underground Art, exceeded all my expectations. But we wanted kind of like old choppery look, and we got it. And with so much black on the bike, I really think the red and gold is the way to go. It's gonna work really, really good with the black. The multitude of designs in there is kind of mind-blowing. Really stoked on how the paint turned out. You know, Biltwell guys, they know how to keep things simple and awesome, and went with the old school Kung Fu grips at the front, went with gray, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And then their rubber pegs for the driver's pegs, man, it just keeps it old school, keeps it functional. Sissy bars are not something I normally put on bikes, and Cobra makes a great detachable sissy bar. And even if you're not traveling with another person, you know, having that sissy bar on there makes it easy to put your luggage back there, and you can kind of lean into that kind of chopper style. And that's what I wanted that sissy bar for. But if you're gonna be around town, you can unclip that thing. This is the perfect example of a custom bike that's a rider. Super reliable, it's full of custom parts, but you could go throw down miles on this. My main focus on this bike was to make it a rider, and hey, obviously we want to look cool in the process. So we'll go out and get some miles on this thing and see how cool we look. This is what every kind of build aspires to be, is this bitchin' custom bike, so I can go ride anywhere I want to.